behind me is a car that needs no introduction. It is one of the most controversial and wildly modified N80 Hiluxes in Australia. And we've got the original owner and builder Shawrry here to run us through everything he did to it while he had it. This is Sus with Sam episode 6, proudly brought to you by GME. Let's get into it. Well, it's time for my first ever YouTube giveaway. If you want to win a brand new Runler 11XP premium winch valued at almost $1,000, then there's a couple of things you need to do. The first step is to subscribe to the channel. The second is to drop a comment on this video letting me know why you need a brand new winch. I'll be announcing the winner in 1 week's time, so good luck everyone. Now, this man standing right here is Taylor, aka Shawrry, aka Chief Dingo Tamer, and he built this car basically exactly how you see it here today, even though he hasn't owned it for around 12-18 months. It has passed through quite a few hands, and we're going to delve into the story of the car and a little bit about the history. It's currently owned by my camera crew. We use it pretty much as an everyday driver as well as a tow car for the Naughty 40 while that's getting its bits tickled. But as you see it here is pretty much how Taylor got rid of it, and it's good to see it still kicking around on the road, registered as well. And today, well, we're going to find out exactly why it got pulled off the road originally, what we did to it, what's been done to it, and what's happening with it now. So let's dive into it. Mate, tell us about the car.
Well, I bought it new in 2018 and got stuck right into it, mainly like bolt-on stuff and like bought lift kits and things for it. And at that point, I was wheeling it every weekend. We were getting so much use out of this thing. And things eventually started breaking in the IFS, just as they do. But a little bit later on down the track, I decided to bite the bullet and just sass it because it did not seem that hard. And everything seemed to look pretty much the same as an N70 under there. So, it was just something I had a crack at, I guess. Yeah, it's
pretty ballsy considering this was at the time, and I believe still is, the only solid axle swapped N80 Hilux getting around in Australia, full stop. So the fact that Taylor went ahead, bought it brand new, might I add, and then just went at it with a grinder, flappy disc and a welder is just phenomenal. And mate, I've driven this thing, I've done thousands of Ks in it, I've towed things with it. It drives honestly better than some standard Hiluxes out there. So that's a massive compliment to you, you've done really well. The people probably want to know everything about it: suspension, bar work, what's under the motor, what sort of coilovers and that sort of thing. So I reckon we delve straight into the fun stuff.
Yeah, get into the spicy bits first up.
Let's do it. Well, the first and probably most obvious modification that makes this thing just as wild as it is that guy right there, the solid axle conversion, and one of the nicest I've seen, with also some of the nicest suspension fruit going on under here. This was no easy feat. Took a few weekends, I can imagine.
Yeah, it took a little while. Mainly just trying to nut it all out first. It was the first sass I've ever done. But yeah, I got there. Had to get an 80 series diff and cut it up and flip it because the drive shaft's on the other side. And unlike an N70, I couldn't just throw a 1KZ sump on it to give extra clearance. I couldn't put a 1KZ transfer in it to leave a standard 80 diff in it, which would have been ideal. But yeah, none of that was really possible. So yeah, things got a little dicey. Had to cut it up and nut a few things out, but we got there. It's all very tight, but it works. It works well. So
one thing I have noticed is clearance of everything is very minimal. So this, I can imagine, would have been a measure, test fit, probably remeasure, pull out, redo a number of times to try and squeeze all the arms and get the right geometry in there that's required from such small real estate.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a bit of trial and error to make it all work, and it was a few nights spent in there trying to nut things out, but we got it in there. It's all very tight, but very tidy. So.
No, it works very well. And obviously, so flip diff, didn't brace the top or bottom side of it other than just the knuckle gussets?
Yeah, just knuckle gussets, like a pretty weak point. Probably could do with a brace, but I wasn't going to rally it too hard. I mean, I was planning on wheeling it very hard, but it was one of those down the track things. I can do that later. It's not a big deal. But
that's exactly right.
The track got closed, I guess.
Yep, it is a bit like that. Now, was there a reason you opted for coilovers instead of I guess a shock and spring combo?
Yeah, so coilovers ride and pretty much do literally everything else better than a coil. and they package way easier. So it means like I don't have to put a coil bucket and a shock tower in there. It's literally just one tower.
Yep.
It's smaller, tidier, looks better.
Yep.
And yeah, just overall performance of a coilover is far superior.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's very happy on 35s. It's been running 35s for its entire life, pretty much. And seems like, you know, the clearance in the guards and to all the components is absolutely Mickey Mouse. The coilovers, King Racing, what sort of sizes are they?
So these are King 2.0s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And 12 inches long?
These are 10s.
Okay, 10s in the front, yeah. And they work very well, as you guys have probably seen in the footage. The other beautiful thing about having the man that created this thing is that we've got photos and footage from the entire build process from years ago. We're talking, you know, 3-4 years ago, when he did have this thing like bare chassis welding bits to it. So that's pretty exciting. So you guys are probably going to be looking at all that gear now, and obviously just progressive 80 bumps. Yeah,
progressive 80 bumps, which they're close and it rides close to them.
Yeah.
It was originally a little bit higher than this, but it's been lowered over the some point in time. So there was a little more clearance, but obviously it's still okay at that height. Yeah. Probably just things are a little bit tighter than they should be.
Yeah, that's right. So before Taylor got got rid of this car, it was probably sitting up about another inch or inch and a half in the front. I think at some point between when Taylor got rid of it and we acquired it, it got lowered in the front just a little bit, probably to sort of help hide that front diff, I think, behind the bash plates and that kind of thing. Because unless you know what you're looking at, unless you're sort of looking right up under it from the sort of the road angle, you wouldn't even suspect that it's got that big 80 front diff in it. So super nicely done. And obviously you couldn't just leave the rear as it was. We've done a bit of tickling in the back there as well, which we'll talk about in a sec. But it all works very nicely. I think we should talk about the bar work, because it's probably one of people's favourite things as well. Super tight, super custom, 360 degrees around the entire car, and well, pretty well used, especially today, just getting to where we are now. So let's talk about it. Now, finding nice bar work for a modern vehicle is actually quite difficult, I think, especially if you're going to be looking for that competition-inspired, really tightly wrapped to the body style of protection. And obviously Taylor couldn't find anything he liked out there, so what does the gun fabricator do? Well, you make your own from absolutely scratch. Tell us about it, mate, because the packaging of this vehicle, of the front bar, the scrubbies and everything, is just like second to none.
Yeah, so number one thing is approach and departure. You want the car to be, you want as minimal car as possible, I guess. You don't want to get hung, like getting hung up sucks, it's annoying. So yeah, everything, I just wanted it to sit as tight as possible. Just keep it all tucked in there, even with a big high mount winch. It's lucky these cars have like oodles of grill space that you can almost fit an entire winch behind it. So yeah, it was just plate, cut, and just tack it all together, work out your shape and everything like that, and there.
A few cardboard mock-ups before
yes, a lot of cardboard.
Getting the glue stick out.
Cardboard-aided design is my best friend.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you touched on it briefly, but it's got, you know, the foggies, it's got the bash plate integrated, it's got a huge high mount, it's got the GME UHF up here, and at the furthest out, it's probably 60 mil out from the factory grille, which is just insane. When you compare that to, you know, like a TJM or an ARB bar, where you've got 30 centimeters of overhang on the front of that car, which, you know, on something like this is just going to be a nuisance. It's going to cause you all sorts of grief when you're trying to climb up rock faces and that kind of thing. So that's super sick. Obviously, it's a brand new car. You've got to protect your brand new panels. You went ahead and we've got 360 scrubbies, as well as some of the lowest clearance, or sorry, I should say highest clearance sliders I've seen. Tell us about that all design.
Well, I mean, protection wasn't really the main focus for me. I kind of, I'm not too stressed about damaging things, but I like it to sort of just, I don't know, flow and be tight. But yeah, it's all strong. You can put the car on banks. I have plenty of times. But yeah, and the sliders, it was just something different. I thought I had. I like all the boat-sided Toyota trucks in the States where they actually cut the sills out and stuff like that. And I wanted that kind of look without actually cutting my sills out. So we just went with tight plate sliders and they turned out awesome and they're pretty strong. So yeah,
plenty strong enough. I mean, even just getting here, the driver put this on its sill and I was like, but it's all good. It held up really nicely. Obviously rear scrubbies as well, super nice. You kept the tub, which I'm a massive fan of. The factory tub, the canopy on it, all body match. I think it looks $1 million. Tub top on the back?
Yeah, so I've never owned a car with a tray. I don't like trays. I think they're cool, but like I just much prefer to have a tub. So yeah, we chopped the back off it. That was like the first thing I ever did to the car was a quarter chop, and that actual rear bar is the same one from way back.
Nice.
Yeah, hooked in, chopped it up, and
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that tube continues through the rear bar. There used to be a swing arm on there, I believe.
Yeah, so when I did Cape York, I got the spare out by just making a swing away tyre carrier for it.
Nice.
So, yeah, but that's all gone now.
Yeah, now it's all sort of stealthy and sleek and all that kind of thing. No, it looks really good. The other thing I love about this car is it's so light.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realise just how light these utes can be.
Yeah, they're not
especially
bad.
when you don't fill them with shit.
Yeah.
And you know, even though it's got all the barwork and that sort of thing, the tub and canopy on the back would weigh almost nothing.
Yeah.
So this thing just handles super nicely. It's really good on the brakes, easy to wheel off road. It's just a nice car to be in.
Yeah, I've always been one for minimalistic. Just keep it as simple, only what you need and no more.
Yeah,
So.
big time. Obviously, stainless snorkel was a must have.
Yes.
Did you do this yourself?
Yeah, I threw it in. It's a fat bar snorkel
Yeah,
though.
nice, awesome. And then anything happening under the bonnet we should have a little look at, you reckon?
Negative on that. It's
Nice
pretty well standard.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that keeps it reliable though.
Yeah.
With a car like this, I guess it's like anything, and people probably realise when it's too late, but the more you stuff around with factory stuff, it just makes it unreliable. Everyone that has messed around with old cars finds out the hard way that the more you change stuff and the more you modify things, especially driveline and engine.
Even if you do it perfectly, you always end up with little issues.
Always have gremlins. This thing has done about 120,000 Ks now, so a lot of Ks in quite a short time span. It tows 3.2 tons with an Audi 40 and car trailer behind it. Does it happily. It's done it to Brisbane and back from Brisbane a couple of times now, and it's about to do it again and has never let us down. So it absolutely loves it, and I guess probably a nice thing as well. It has got an exhaust on it as well though.
Yeah, it's got a
nice.
3-inch straight through. Yeah. 488 diff gears would probably help with towing around with 35s on.
Big time. Yeah, how good. Well, let's jump at the back and talk about the rear suspension, because that's been tickled by the man himself as well. You couldn't just leave it alone. No, you've got to mess with that as well. But the rear works really well too, even though it's still leaf spring. So let's go talk about it. Now, like any true dingo tamer, you cannot leave any stone unturned, and that's exactly what Taylor did with the rear suspension of this car as well. Obviously, still leaf sprung, but quite a bit's changed from the factory sort of Toyota setup. Yeah,
so this is original stuff from back when it was IFS. That was one of the first things I played with, and it worked so well that I was not going to change it again. I was like, this is fine. So it's got standard leaf springs in it still with one extra leaf. It has 11-inch Bilston shocks, which are like the top mount has been moved upwards to accommodate for that extra stroke. It's got 80 series progressive bump stops again, and I think that's about it. Like, the lines and everything have all been rerouted so that nothing gets pulled tight, no brake lines popping, no electrical issues, like everything's all pretty good there. But no, it works fantastic, and
it works really well. And I think it's one of those things where you don't actually always have to go
crazy
to a coil conversion or anything, because to be honest, this works fantastically. Zero rear steer.
Yeah, because you're on leafs.
You're on leafs.
Leafs are simple and they work really well.
Right,
and I don't know why people don't like them as much as they do.
No, that's right. And the other thing is, like, it flexes amazingly. It drives really nicely on the road, and then we can hitch up almost 3.5 tonne behind it and tow with it all day, and it's still not sitting on those bumps. So that's absolutely gorgeous. That being said, were you ever tempted to coil it, or you were just happy with it how it was?
Not at that point. I think maybe down the track, like if I was to have kept it, I would have probably put coilovers in the rear as well and triangulated four-link. But that never happened, so that's right.
It's not too bad. Now, in terms of capability, I believe this is still running the factory rear Toyota locker.
Yep.
And then the front, I believe, ARB air locker.
Yeah, both with nitro 488s.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So rear-geared. What's the standard gearing in it?
That's testing my memory.
It's 3 point something maybe, or like
it's something weird like that.
Yeah, something strange. So 488s is definitely helps it on and off road, turn of 35s and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The thing drives fantastically as well. Like the gearing, I think, is spot on with the 35s. Speaking of 35s, good to see Maxxis razors. They're probably a little bit more bald than what we would like to see, so we might have to help the guys out there. Maxxis, I'm looking at you. But these are a 315 7017 on roadkill rim.
Yeah, so Dirty Life roadkill beadlocks.
Nice, and genuine beadlock as well, which is super sick. Obviously, a car like this gets driven off road and you're going to want those beadlocks, so
definitely.
It's super good. And one thing I've noticed is, like, it doesn't seem that the tyres actually bind or crash into anything, which I guess is well done to you, clearancing everything how it should be done. And,
that's the way. Just got to cut it away if it looks like it's in the way.
Yeah, that's right. Get the grinder out and make some room. No, it's super sick. And obviously the bronze is a hot colour choice for the centre.
So that's like a Ford G6E, like Archon bronze.
Yeah, nice.
Good old super cheap auto spray pack.
Loves it. No, mate, it stood the test of time. Absolutely loves it. So it really works with the blue as well. You wouldn't have thunk it, but it does. It looks really good. When we jump in the cab, there's a little bit done in there, not too much. Again, it's one of those places where it's sort of nice and simple and clean and not too distracting.
Yeah.
And then we'll go story time, I think, because probably you guys are wondering why a man like this that's poured countless hours, time, money, everything into a car would just get rid of it. Not quite as black and white as that, so we'll talk about that in a second too. Mate, a bit of a time capsule in here for you. It's been, what, 3 years since you've sat in that seat?
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange feeling, I
Yeah.
can imagine, but anyway, it's good to have you back in here. And to be honest, it's probably pretty darn unchanged from what you had.
Yeah, it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, so it's a pretty moderate setup in here, but it's nice and simple and everything works. I think starting things off, EVC throttle controller.
Yeah.
I think in any modern car, that's pretty much a must, to be honest, to be able to sort of dampen the throttle and that sort of thing, especially when you're off-road.
It is handy to have a little less responsive throttle trying to go over rocks and stuff. Otherwise, they can get a bit jumpy in the autos.
Yeah, 100%. Then down on your left there, I think we've got the compressor and probably rear locker switch, and then obviously
winch in and out,
which I think that's one of my favourite things as well.
Yeah,
I've always told myself, oh yeah, like I've got to run my controls in cab, but just never gotten around to it. But it is honestly makes a massive
Two
difference.
most important places in cab, and I like to have one on the bar as well.
Yeah, okay, true. That's a good idea. And then other than that, it's pretty much stock standard in here, other than just having that sort of heads-up speedo as well to help combat the sort of, I guess, difference with the speedo and the 35s and that kind of thing, which is GPS. But other than that, the cab is stock standard, which I kind of like because it's not cluttered, it's not too busy, it's very simple. In a bit of an off-road emergency, you know exactly where your switches are for lockers, for your winch and that kind of thing. Plus, Toyota got it pretty right with the infotainment stuff anyway.
Yeah, I never had an issue with it. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I was happy, so there was no reason for me to change anything.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's clean, it works well. And yeah, overall, I think whoever's handballed it the most recently has kept it in quite nice condition in here as well. And now that we've got it, we're definitely hoping to keep it the same. I think on the cards, we're probably going to be chucking a whole lot of nice red-up gear in here. Like we said, it's the camera cruise car, so to be able to live off-grid, charge batteries, drones, laptops and that kind of thing and edit while we're away, I think would be nice. So we might look at chucking some lithium dogs in here and do a bit of a juicy setup in the canopy. But yeah, I think in here I'll say pretty much as it is, which is kind of nice. And I've done a few thousand Ks in that seat as well. It's a nice place to be.
It is. It's quite comfortable. I went to Cape York and back in it. And
loved it.
Good.
While we got you here, what do you reckon your favourite memory is in this car? Like favourite trip you did, anything like that?
Favourite trip's got to be Cape. Like, it was the first time I've ever been. It was unreal.
And that was when it was still IFS?
Yeah,
nice. Cape York, I think, is, if you do Cape York and it's not your favourite trip, you probably didn't do Cape York right, just quietly. I've got a mate that just came back from it. He spent like 7 weeks up there or something ridiculous, and I'm very envious of him.
Yeah, well, the car was my home for the whole month I was up there. So
loved it. And you lived out of it. Do you have a 12-volt system in it at the time?
Very basic.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't need much. Like enough for a fridge. That's basically it.
Yeah.
I don't need. You don't need all this fancy crazy stuff.
Just swag. And get the dog.
Go simple.
Yeah, I like it. Well, I reckon it's probably time to answer as much of the questions as we can from the people, and that is why someone like you would get rid of this car, what the sort of story is there, because I know a lot of people are probably going to be asking it in the comments already anyway, and let's do that.
All right, let's do it.
Now, the question we get asked the most, well, I bet you still get asked this question. I know I get it week in, week out from 10 different people every time I feature this car, is what's the story? Why did Shawrry get rid of it? How is it still on the road? What's been happening with it in the sort of past 18 months? Try and answer it as best as we can without throwing anyone under buses, I think.
And upsetting people.
Because then we're just gonna, we're gonna end up with a couple of big targets on our back, and I'm more of a Kmart guy. First things first, you got rid of it for one pretty big spicy reason, and that was you were getting a little bit targeted with it.
I was being targeted and harassed. Well, harassed, I don't know. You do the wrong thing. I don't know. It's a bit of a grey one. It seems a bit unfair in my opinion. I post photos so people can see what I'm doing because I think it's cool and I know other people like it. So, you know, I post it so people get ideas and inspired by it. And
big time.
And like, that's the only reason. I'm not like out here like, hey, look at me, I can do this. And screw everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. You know, a place to store memories and that kind of thing, and you know, posting them online like we all do, like everyone watching this does. And And then if you're a New South Wales registered car or even, you know, pretty much anywhere now, unfortunately, there was a bit of a string of attacks going around the past couple of years where there were some people in sort of upper authority that were using social media to find cars that they thought might not be engineered or road legal, and then issuing compliance checks via the mail after just looking online and trawling through social media. So Taylor got the letter of doom, I got a letter of doom, I know a couple of other people that we've filmed with in the past have got the same letters, and it's basically just from a couple of people in, I think, the RMS, if not New South Wales Police, were sending out these letters based on what they saw on social media. Taylor got it especially bad. I do feel extremely sorry for him, and I think the biggest reason why, after pouring hours and thousands of dollars and, you know, getting rid of a passion project like this, was because you basically just couldn't keep it.
Probably could have, but it sort of just put a dampener on everything for me. I was over it. I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. Took one hit and both cars, 2 letters for 2 cars at one time. I'm like, oh, sweet. So the other car I'd never get rid of, the Stout, obviously. It's just got a special place in my heart. But yeah, this one I was like, you know what, let's just cut the losses. And I started doing it again with a 105. And had full intentions to make it fully legal, and everything was going to go through engineering. But before I even got to finish it, I got another letter. So I was like, again, I was like, you know what, this is just ridiculous. I can't even be bothered anymore.
It is a shame.
So I've just gone down the avenue of cars that I don't need to modify.
That's right. And keeping them less and less on social media as well, I think, is the big thing. This, at the time, I guess, the reason why it was a problem that it was getting compliance checked is that it wasn't engineered, and I think that's the biggest thing. At the time, having a solid axle swapped N80 in Australia was just unengineerable. No one had done it. People were so foreign to it, and that was probably the biggest thing. And that being said, though, I think the workmanship and the hours that have gone into this are probably more so than some companies are doing engineered N70 SASs, for example. So it's no question on the quality of work or the safety or anything. I've driven this car for thousands of kilometers, towing and not towing, and honestly handles better than most old cruisers out there. So that was obviously pretty disappointing. Once you got rid of it, I think you sold it pretty cheap to just sort of get rid of it and move
just
on.
A fire sale, get rid of it.
Which is fair enough. I think after that, I think it bounced around somewhere between 10 and 20 million owners in New South Wales. It was owned by every Tom, Dick and Harry was messaging someone, you know, that had anything to do with the car. I
was getting calls, random phone calls from people like, oh, I've got your old car now. What's this and this and this? I'm like, oh.
Crazy. Crazy. And again, at this time, I think it was popping around, like bouncing around unregistered and that kind of thing, until eventually, the camera crew bought it. And now it's back registered, engineered, you know, insured, drives amazingly. You know, it ticks all the boxes that you want out of a, you know, modern reliability with the sort of off-road prowess of an older school vehicle with that 80 series front end. And, you know, we haven't had any grief since, which is pretty exciting. I guess having engineered rigs is the solution, but you know, it's also just disappointing that people can't just go and post fun, cool stuff online anymore without the sort of risk of getting the letters. We'll put an example letter of the ones that we got on the screen so you can see the sort of letter of doom, and it basically translates, all the political jargon in the letter basically just translates to your life is the layman's translation for it. So if you get that letter, basically what the process is you then have to take it to an inspection station and get it a full compliance check, which means if the car's not standard, you're basically stuffed. So obviously that wasn't going to work out too well for any of the cars we had the letters for. But yes,
unfortunate, a lot of people don't understand that when you build something like this, it does take a lot of time to get it to the point where it will be like perfect and fully engineerable. But unfortunately, sometimes you need to put some road miles on it to work that out.
Exactly right.
Like, you don't do dangerous stuff. Like, make sure everything is perfect before you do it. But, you know, say, go for a drive and, oh, this needs to be clearance, this needs to be done, whatnot. Little things, teething issues, like, it's just the way it is. To expect someone to just smack it all out without actually using it.
That's right.
Especially when it's something like a first time, which this was the first one in Australia anyway. It's just difficult.
Big time. But I guess the good news is, he's back on the road now. Shawrry's seen it. He's had a drive today. He's absolutely frothed it, which is exciting. you know, it's registered. Hopefully you guys will be seeing a bit more of it. We're also pretty keen on doing a bit of a build with it too. So if you guys have any suggestions of what next you might want to see with the dingo behind us, then drop them in the comments. But yeah, it's a shame, you know, keep your vehicles safe, don't keep them offline as much as you can, or blur your plates and that sort of thing. But yeah, sometimes you got to jump through a few loopholes to get these things all Mickey Mouse, which we've done, and it's been fun. Anyway, now's the fun part of the video. I reckon we should get Taylor back in the driver's seat. It's been a hot minute.
It has.
We'll go wheel some stuff. We're here, we've got a couple of little obstacles around here. There's some fun tracks that we've got lined up that are around this sort of area. We'll see if it drives exactly how you remembered.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So before we throw the keys to the old dingo back to Shawrry, we're going to let him have a quick warm up on this little step, which I know the camera's not going to make it look like anything, but bog hole at the bottom, basically climbing 3 steps at once. It's actually quite a tricky little drive. So, mate, we'll let you get warmed up here first before we send you up the other line with the Hilux. But I've got faith.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Let's get into it. Just wanted to take a quick moment out of the video to remind you guys about the My Mate Oliver giveaway. If you own a set of Oliver work boots and you upload a photo on social media using the hashtag MyMateOliver, you'll automatically be entered in the draw to possibly win one of 6 $4,000 gift packs, which includes a $3,000 Visa gift card and a $1,000 adrenaline voucher. So make sure you upload your photos. My Mate Oliver, good luck guys.
Oi, fuck Toyota blue suit you, eh?
What's that?
Toyota blue suit ya.
I do love the blue.
Yeah, love to see it. Yeah, beautiful, loves it. Nice and slippery on this stuff. Is your rear locker on?
No. It is now.
Yeah, love to see it. Ooh, a little brush up with that.
There's a big boulder under that back right.
You should drive over it easy anyway. Back up here. Yeah.
Keep it out of that hole this time.
Starting to climb now.
Bugger. Need more angle.
Come on, baby.
Step. Are we on tail shaft?
Yeah. I think you were sweet, eh?
Oh, cool.
I think it's just I actually think it's leaf spring on that rock.
Ah, yes.
Or even like the front leaf spring hanger. Your shaft should fit up that V pretty nicely. That's what she said. I hate myself. Yeah, shaft's good. That's just slider.
Deep bulk angle.
I can chuck a rock daddy in there.
Yeah, maybe a big fat boy.
Yeah, big chungus.
Big chongy
Big
dog.
chungy mungy.
Ooh, like GU steering box is fantastic.
Loves it. was going to climb under and maybe drag.
Yeah, I
it.
won't move.
Yeah, you good.
These steps are a lot bigger than they used to be.
Yeah, the rain probably hasn't been kind to them, eh? It's a beautiful thing, track building.
Beautiful. Yeah, that all those holes are fucking much bigger at the bases of those steps than we last time. You haven't been in that thing in fucking forever.
Yeah, literally. It definitely needs tyres.
Oh yeah.
The rear was just like zero traction.
Yeah, it's doing cool.
Is that a fresh Razor MTs, I think,
Yeah.
on the Christmas list coming up?
Coming in, yeah, flex. I just wanna win, yeah. LA BB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again, yeah. State your name, big dip on flame. I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again. I just flipped the paint, stripping and dipping in base, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the fit lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming. Coming in, yeah, flex. I just wanna win.
Well, hopefully that answers all the questions you guys have been asking, not only Taylor, but myself over the past years about this car. The mods, the engineering process, the story behind why it changed hands so many times, and all the nitty-gritty details about the OG Dingo. Mate, thanks for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Nah, it's all good.
Hopefully this little time capsule has brought back some good fond memories and not too many spicy ones.
Ah, yeah.
Massive thanks to GME as always for supporting the Sus with Sam series. If you've loved what you've seen, make sure you subscribe, drop a comment on what sort of vehicles you might want to see in the future, because we're going to keep bringing these episodes out to you guys. Anyway, until next time.